Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I thought today for Bullies Behind the Benzos, we would go ahead and do a Q&A. I've never done one of these before. I see and I do ask sometimes questions on YouTube that you guys may have. And I figured it would be a different kind of video. Excuse the exterior. I'm not feeling good. think I'm coming down again with a sinus infection. I pray to God I'm not. So I'm kind of looking like a hot mess right now. And, you know, it is what it is. This is a real thing. I don't ever edit my videos, and this is just what you see is what you get type thing. So without further ado, I wanted to go ahead and get into some of these questions. And again, the answers, a big disclaimer, I am not in the medical field. I am not a doctor. These are all based on my own experience, things that I've heard from other people, what they've experienced, and, whatnot. So always, at the end of the day, talk with your doctor, talk with somebody, who has an expertise, other than somebody on YouTube. But again, these are just my own opinions. So, okay. So the biggest question that I see, which is question number one, I don't know how many I'm going to get through today because there are several in our group along with ones that I wrote down. But the biggest number one is, how long will it last? And I may get a lot of hate for my response. Now, for me, I almost feel like there are so many factors that come into how long will it last, because some people have illnesses behind what's going on. So together they have the benzo problem and other things going on. It also, I feel like, really depends on mind control, how well you handle withdrawal, how strong you are, which is so true. Some of us, it is really hard for some to where they just can't come to terms, or maybe feel like their anxiety is just overtaking them. So I don't like when people say, they get mad at when I say, well, a brain injury can take 3 to 5 years to heal, but I'm only trying to be real with people. I'm not saying you're in a 3 to 5 year range, but you may be. Why tell somebody you're going to heal in 6 months to a year, and when they don't heal, they're angry because they're like, why did you lie to me? So now you're in this like catch-22. Like, do I tell them just to tell them because you don't want them to think they're not going to heal? You want them to get better, but then not tell them that it could be 3 to 5 years because they may freak out. Like, let's be real. I'm one of those people, and why I created my channel was I wanted to put out the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like, I wanted everything to be out there raw, because we don't know when we're going to heal. Like me, I'm jumping at about 22 to 30 days off Ativan after 4 years. Does that mean that I'm in the safe zone? Does that mean that after a few months that I may not go back into a horrible wave that could last 6 months? I don't know. This medication is the weirdest medicine that I've ever heard of. And it reacts in such weird ways that it really depends on a lot of factors. How long you've been on the benzo? How many milligrams you're on? And are you on any other antidepressants, antipsychotics that are loaded in with this med? Because now if you are, you're not only dealing with benzo, repercussions and symptoms and side effects. Now you're dealing with, say you're on Remeron, say you're on Paxil, say you're on Seroquel, whatever drug you may be on may be affecting your recovery. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying you won't recover, but I'm not, and I don't feel comfortable to put a time frame on people out there, because I feel like that's just not, it's not realistic. Like, it's just not. So for me, I don't know. Like, all I know is speaking in reading from what neurologists say about a basic brain like injury, such as maybe a motorcycle accident, medication, whatever it may be. I've read that it's a 3 to 5 year window for your brain to fully heal. So it's not saying you're not going to heal at all, because I am. Little by little, I'm seeing improvements. I'm also seeing disadvantages, but I'm seeing improvements to where my vision isn't what it was when I used to wake up, to where I felt like if something had patterns on it, or it was a t-shirt or a rug or a piece of paper, like, as this is an example, like the patterns on this, in the old me would be like bugging out, like I was tripping on acid. I couldn't stare at something like this long enough. It still affects me, but not where it was making me where I couldn't even go out in public and the lights were too bright and the noises were too loud. So again, I believe people heal and I believe that we are healing, but I almost feel like don't put a time frame on somebody, because the fact of you're giving them false hope, and maybe when they hit that, like year mark or 6 month mark or a 2 year mark and they're still not healed, there are so many other factors that just take aim where you can't give somebody false hope like that. So for me, I don't look at time. I live in the moment. I live hour to hour, day to day. I do not live from now to the future, because I don't know where I'm going to be. It overwhelms me, number two. And number three, I just feel like if I try to take on too much, then I'm overstimulated and I'm just completely depressed. And everything that I'm working hard to do, I feel like, why bother? So for me, again, I live day by day, hour by hour, like literally. I just try to make it through each day and do something productive and feel grateful and thanks for what I can get through the day. So that's the biggest question. Number long is, how long will it last? Please, little rule of thumb, don't compare yourself to others. Don't, look at others' stories and let them freak you out. We're all not the same. We all have a different journey. Yes, benzos pretty much do affect us all in the same way. But as far as healing, that's still all a big question. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. So take each day, each hour versus each week, each month, each year, and try to focus on that. Because the littler and small portions that you take in, the better you're going to do with, and the less stress you're going to put on yourself. So that's my recommendation. The number two question that I get and I hear and I see all over, and not even just for me, just asking the general public that has gone through benzodiazepine tolerance and withdrawal, does anything help with the withdrawal? I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. My brain is not even healed for me to know what I'm going to say. So okay, so back to number two. Sorry, guys. So no. The answer is no. I'm not a doctor, but I will tell you, there was a story that I forgot to tell y'all that had happened to me. A couple weeks ago, I made this world famous, and it's not my recipe, so I'm not going to take credit, but this world famous chicken and dumplings, and I love it. The kids love it, and I've always made it, and it calls for sherry. Cooking wine, it's still wine, but it's the cooking wine version compared to the regular wine. Well, I did not know. Normally what I was doing was I was using a white wine because it's a substitute. Okay. So I've had it several times and I've been okay with it. Well, for some reason I decided, wow, Walmart carried sherry wine and I was going to go ahead and use it thinking it would give it a different flavor. Although, as you guys know, I can't taste and I can't smell. I've lost all my sense of taste, touch, everything since I had that horrible sinus infection back in December. But I just figured, why not use what it calls for? Oh my gosh. I sat down to dinner with my son and with my daughter, and I was sweating profusely. I was very sick, and I'm sitting here what the hell? I just got done eating dinner. This has never happened. Through this, I have to be thankful. I have not had sensitivities to food besides beef, which you guys all know I can't. I can't have it. It just revs me up and makes me go through horrible IBS. So anyways, I did not know that sherry, and I'd have to look it up again, so don't quote me, but I thought when I read it, my one friend Michelle's like, Melissa, doesn't that have alcohol? And I was like, no, it's cooking wine. Why would it have alcohol in it? No lie. When I went and looked in my cabinet to look at the bottle, the label, oh my gosh, there was 14 or 17% alcohol in cooking wine. Maybe I'm really stupid, and you guys can comment down below how many of you knew that there was alcohol in cooking wine. I didn't know. So I'm looking at my chicken Marsala wine. I'm looking at my white wines. They all have even more alcohol than a beer. Can you believe that? Like, I was freaking out, like, oh my gosh, like, I can't even believe what I'm reading right now. Like, no joke. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. So for me, I was so sick. I was having where I felt like I was shaking, like inside my body, like literally shaking. Well, you couldn't see it on the outside, but I felt like I was having tremors. I was sweating. My heart got heavy. Like, I knew this wasn't just withdrawal. Like, it's benzo related, but this wasn't just because my dose was late or because I'm cutting down or tapering. This was a serious histamine issue with food. Like, oh my gosh. So and I remembered, the more that I got thinking about it, I was like, oh my gosh, like, we had gone out to eat at the Olive Garden and I absolutely love their chicken Marsala. And I didn't think that I started getting really sick after eating it. Well, duh, it's supposed to cook off like the wines and whatnot from what I read. Not all the time though. And being so sensitive, going through benzos and stuff, yeah, it made me react like you would not believe. So this is my thing. I know it sounds like it's a little off topic, but does anything help with withdrawal? Not to try to sound like belittling anybody with this question. If there was anything, we'd all have been on it by now and be so healthy. Like, we would be done with withdrawal. Supplements, I'm probably going to get crucified for this. Supplements, just because they're natural, don't just go popping supplements in your body. Just like a normal day without being on benzos, you don't take something your body doesn't need anyhow. People are, believe it or not, they are like toxing their bodies with even supplements, thinking, oh, because these are natural, these are good. If you don't need them and haven't had your labs run, all you're doing is putting more strain in your kidneys and in your bladder, because that's what you do, is you pee them all out. So some people think, well, if you don't use them, you'll just pee them out. But what you're not understanding is you're putting more strain on your kidneys and your bladder if you don't need them. So my advice is get your levels checked like I did recently. I don't know if I said this in the other video because of my benzo brain, but recently I was sleeping and getting restless leg syndrome, where my legs were just dancing while I was trying to sleep. And it felt like my calf muscles, somebody was grabbing them. So here's my calf grabbing my muscle and ripping it. So it was so bad. I knew for some reason though that it was low vitamin D because I've had it before in the past. My doctor checked it. 30 to 90 is normal. My vitamin D was like 23. I am on a vitamin D prescription that I take once a week, but it's being, what's the word? Like, it's being monitored by my doctor. And she's checking my vitamin D levels every so many months because she's so amazing. So I feel better now. I don't even have to go through that horrific trouble because I did have low vitamin D. But my word of mouth is don't just go taking things, because sometimes these supplements, these essential oils, things of that nature that we all think are so healthy and great because they're natural, at some point they're still man-made. They are still made by the hands of people. So there are chemicals in these things, and they can react in other ways where you don't want them to. So for me, to be real, I would recommend you go to your doctor and do normal labs, because first of all, benzos, as you all know what happened with me, they have messed up every level in my body, such as my potassium, I think my sodium was even low at one time when I was in dehydration. Like, the pituitary gland in my brain is a little low. So to be real, like, I would not just be popping pills regardless of how natural they are, because you're going to overload your system, which is already so sensitive, your central nervous system, and just make things worse. Nothing in the world, I don't care if a doctor, and I'm not being rude when I say this, so doctors can laugh at me and I don't really care, but at this point, they're going to tell you, oh yeah, this med will help with this and help with this and help with that and help you through withdrawal. Well, guess what? 90% of the people in my group who've gone on additional meds, they feel way worse, and now they're tapering 3 to 4 to 5 different meds, and now they're in this boat where they can't get out of. And I'm not being mean, and I understand why they're ready to jump at a pill. I mean, if I didn't know better, I would too, because I want this to stop. But to be real, the only help through this process is mind control, therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, meditation, podcast, anything positive to get your mind out of where it's at and get it back focused of where it needs to be. You actually have to pick up your brain, and I'm not kidding, I've done this physically, and had to say, I'm not doing this. I'm not thinking about DPR. We're not going to put my mind into what if the car crashes and I'm in it and I die and I'm not here tomorrow. That's going to stop, and I'm going to focus on what I want to focus on, because I've had to do this more than 1,000 times to get my brain out of DPR, which is depersonalization. It's where you don't feel connected with the world and yourself, and had to move and kick myself in the butt to do this. Is it easy? No, it's not. But to be real, there's nothing out there in the world that's going to stop benzodiazepine, because benzos do not focus on serotonin and dopamine in the brain. They focus on GABA receptors in the body, which is why your first brain and your second brain, which is your belly, that reenact with each other are so bad, because it's been sedated and down regulated by an artificial medication. Now that we're trying to pull the medicine out of the body, or if you're intolerant watching this video, your body is not able to function because there's not enough GABA in the body to keep your cortisol, your adrenaline, and those hormones and things at a safe bay, because the fact of it doesn't know what it's doing. So any little bit of excitement, the body's overstimulated. Not enough excitement, your body feels like you can't feel anything. So there's just a whole mess of things going on right now with your body where nothing in the world, antidepressants, antipsychotics, sleep aids are even not healthy, because you're already on a sedative. You shouldn't mix another sedative. And I never knew that. I used to take amitriptyline. I didn't know that it could have killed me. Nobody told me that. But you're not supposed to mix them. They are not a good mix. So for me, the answer is no. There is nothing in the world but time, strength, support groups, just literally anything positive you can get your hands on is what you're going to need through this journey. Like literally. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm sitting here with indigestion. But yeah, the answer is no. I mean, I've not found not one person that it's made better. It's only made worse. Okay. So number 5 would be the same thing. Do antidepressants help? A lot of people ask that question as well, and no. Like I said, maybe at the time, maybe because it's doing, like a temporary sedation or whatever it may be, but no, the answer is no. Antidepressants do not help. That's why detox centers are not recommended for this, because they are only trained for opiates, street drugs, and, antidepressants. They are not trained to get you off benzodiazepines, and it takes longer than 2 weeks to 6 months to get you off of these pills, and to even, first of all, just to get you off of them, let alone heal. I've been tapering. July 13th will be a whole year that I'm still tapering. So, and I was only put on 0.5 milligrams of Ativan for, you figure, 2016, 2017, and 2018. So I've only been on them 3 years, which is a lot shorter than most people and a lot less dose, and I'm still struggling. So again, no, nothing helps. The third question a lot of people talk about is fatigue and air hunger. I had air hunger and I still get it. The best way to explain it is just to feel like your chest is really heavy. You have a hard time breathing. You feel like you just have somebody sitting on your chest, to where it makes you exhausted, but obviously you're so exhausted you can't sleep. Because a lot of people on benzos are not able to sleep at all. Whether you went on them for insomnia or not, it's just a big side effect. It's a big symptom. A lot of us have it. That's why a lot of people are on that are on sleep aids, which I know they have no choice, and I understand that, because being sleep deprived can be one of the worst symptoms due to, you can feel like you have the flu. It can make benzo flu worse. It can make your mind feel worse, like you're going into psychosis. You start to hallucinate. It is a very bad symptom, and I had it for a very long time in menopause, and in hormonal problems that I was dealing with. So I don't know in benzo withdrawal what it's like, but I can tell you I've had it before in another situation, and it was the worst. I was a raging, miserable monster. So yeah. But air hunger, honestly, I don't think, for me, the only thing that I can say that I honestly think helped me, the days that I had it, the more that I did get up, moving around and get out of bed and expand my oxygen through my lungs, I feel like it alleviated it some. I wouldn't say it kind of like wiped it out, but I do believe it alleviated it and made it less than, what it was. The fatigue, I still have it. There's days that I feel so exhausted that I can't even motivate myself. I think it's something that and we all are just going to have to deal with. I don't think there's anything that helps. I am at a point through my taper where I am working out. I've been working out for probably a month, but I'm not doing very heavy exercises. A lot of it is weights. I'm doing weights. I'm trying to get the strength back in my arms. I feel like my calves are jello. My legs are just not like when I do anything. I'm trying to strengthen. And I've learned that you can without shocking your central nervous system. I do low impact cardio workout. It does not cause anxiety for me, which is strange because I do get anxiety, but it's not caused it by racing my heart. I really think those things are too different when they happen. I feel good, to be honest. I feel like I've got more energy, but don't go out there lifting weights. I'm not suggesting you grab weights and start working out. You can, what I call and what I used to do in nursing is range of motion. Even if you're sitting, you can get your arms going by doing different things, your legs, moving your legs. I don't recommend laying in bed all day. I know that sounds so terrible, and like you guys are probably yelling at me like, oh my God, I feel so terrible. But to be real, the more I laid around, this is not like the flu or pneumonia. This is so different. But the more I laid around, the harder it was to get up. My muscles felt like they were stuck, where I don't know if you guys have ever woke up and had these similar things to where you can't lift your head. Feels like your neck and head are stuck. I always woke up like that. Like, why am I almost paralyzed? Like I felt... And now it makes sense. My body was sedated. These are sedative drugs. Although I wasn't taking them for insomnia, when I would wake up in the morning, I could barely lift my arms. Like they were heavy. So for me, getting up, moving around mentally and physically, I do feel better. I don't know about everybody's situation, but I felt worse laying in bed. So for fatigue and air hunger, just increase your oxygen, even if it's just to get up, walking around little by little, again, because I feel like the air hunger gets worse the more that we lie around, the more that it's harder for us to breathe, because I think with benzos, they're so sedating that everything is slowed. Your heart rate sometimes slows, your breathing slows. So I feel like when you get those things up there, you're not only getting more oxygen to your brain and to your lungs, you're also moving and being mobile and getting your brain functioning better. So again, I'm not a doctor. I just know that these things seriously have helped me out of the pits of hell. So the next question that people ask is, do we heal? Do we heal is a huge question among, hundreds of people that I see new, old, come into our group and ask these questions. And I will say, yes. I'm not just saying that for false hope. I am pure, what's the word? I don't want to say like I'm some like walking miracle, but I will tell you, I am healing every single day. Not like I would like, but this process cannot be rushed, okay? I look back almost 11 months ago and think, wow, like my vision, as I told y'all, is not as bad. As far as the feeling like I'm tripping, the whole looking at the carpet, walking down the hallway, my coordination isn't like this anymore. It's more like this. There are some days where I feel still off balance more than others, but it's getting better. I do know that now when people turn on the lights, I'm not wide awake, jumping up like my adrenaline is so high that I'm ready to like fight to flight and save myself like I'm in danger when I'm not. I'm not waking up anymore with constant heart palpitations. My heart going from, normal of 60 to 90 to 200. I'm not dealing with that anymore. I can gladly say that I'm not taking probiotics anymore. I think it's been about 2 or 3 months. I'm off of those. Thank God. There are days that I need them. There are all days that I need the anti-nausea med, but it's not like an everyday thing anymore. My stomach isn't gnawing at me to where I think a lot of the reason why too, to be real, why my stomach is not as bad, I can't smell anymore. So smells were so intense for me that they were making me gag and made me so nauseous. Now I can't smell anything. But the sad thing is I can't even enjoy a meal now. So it's like, you know, you give up one symptom for another symptom. So, but for me, it's a godsend because the stomach stuff was starting to kill me. Like, no joke. It was just starting to get on my damn nerves because my stomach was always bubbling. No matter what I ate, no matter what smells I smelled, they made me feel sick. I didn't even want to touch food. Granted, I can't enjoy it as far as eating it, but I'm eating it and I'm not getting sick. So that's a huge plus. So really, to get back to the question, I believe we heal. Again, I believe it all depends on a whole bunch of stuff, just mindset, how hard we fight, you know, how much we push ourselves up every day. Other medical conditions can weigh us down. Other drugs can weigh us down. So really, I believe we all heal. I truly, truly believe that. But again, I don't want to put a time frame. I'm not going to sit here and say, guys, you heal in a year. I'm not going to do that because that is false hope. But what I'm not giving you is false hope by saying you will heal. You will. I've seen people worse off than me that you know, had just a horrible, worse off, just polydrugged and everything else. And they are alive and they're telling their story. So kudos to those people. So yeah, those were just a few questions. There were some, I'm trying to see, I didn't know if they were repetitive. Let's see if I can pull up another one. I did talk about the fatigue. It does and can get crippling. And like I said, I really think for me, anyways, I really feel for me that getting up and getting motivated really, honestly, is what saved me. This one is my question is here. How long will it last? I touched on that. Like I said, I don't want to give, you know, a specific with that because everybody's so different. I don't know. You know, that's kind of like asking, you know, somebody, you know, when will they heal from chemo? Like, just, we don't know, unfortunately. That's why I tell people the best advice I can give is please go hour by hour. Do not try to live future right now. Long-term goals are a no-no when it comes to us in benzo withdrawal and benzo tolerance, because all that tends to do is stress us out because we're not living like everybody else. We start to get depressed, we start to compare ourselves, and then that just sets us back and causes more central nervous system damage because we're overloading our system and we are just too stimulated in a negative way that just ruins us. So it's not ideal. One of the other ladies had asked about the able inner to breathe, and I was talking a little bit about that. I've had it a lot through tolerance and taper, feeling like people are on my chest. Again, I try to get up, not think about it a lot. I know it sounds, you know, easier said than done, but I noticed the more that I was, you know, doing that, for myself, I was causing myself anxiety because the fact that, you know, I didn't know what was happening. I thought maybe I was really having a stroke. So to be real, it's very common. I'm not saying don't go to the ER and get checked. If you really believe, I'm so for everybody getting checked out. Don't listen to other people and don't get checked out, because I feel like even if nothing is there, is it better to have a peace of mind, or is it better to worry and drive yourself insane? It's your call, really. But it is very, very common. People also talk about the burning. I haven't had it as bad as some, but I have had it where the pit of my stomach. I don't want to compare it to acid reflux because a lot of people get it confused. Like if you tell your doctor, and this is kind of how I've learned to describe it, a lot of doctors automatically think acid reflux, but no, this is what I found that is more explainable is if you've ever eaten ice cream really, really fast and you've had that burning in your throat and in your head, that's exactly, but 20,000 times worse is the burning that you get from benzos. I don't know specifically what it is. I kind of believe though that it's surging in cortisol levels, because from what I've been researching is your cortisol keeps your inflammation down. And because being on benzos causes those rushes and declines and everything else to happen with your adrenal and all this other crazy stuff with your hormones and your endocrine system, I truly believe it causes to where we feel inflammation all over, like burning of the feet and in the stomach, and I get it behind the shoulder blades and things in that nature. I don't really know to be fair, to say like exactly what it comes from, but I feel like that may be where the source is, and I'm still researching that, but it is very, very normal. I've heard a lot of people, and to believe it or not, I've gone on a detox website and they talk about with benzos, like 30% to 40 is burning. So a lot of people experience it coming off of it. A good friend of mine asked what skills are needed to be successful to get through this. I do know that I've talked about this a lot. I think in my one video, the do's and don'ts of benzos, and I can kind of go through them again. But I really feel like you need a good support system. Everybody needs to have somebody, even if your family doesn't want to listen, there's got to be somebody in a support group or somebody that you can count on to talk about this with. So support is number one. Mind control is number two. You have to learn coping skills going through this to survive, because this is one of the most hardest things you will ever go through. The other things are, for some, therapy is too much right now. For me, it's been a godsend because I feel good after my talks with my therapist. And I don't feel like when we're talking, she's the therapist and I'm the patient. I more or less feel like she's my friend and I'm me. So I just feel good when her and I speak every Tuesday. Reading books, it could be great to educate yourself, but it could be a trigger. You have to decide. If you're too emotional that day, stay away from it. If you feel like it's not a trigger for that day, educate yourself. The more education, the more awareness we bring as a group, because we are a family. You know, like I said, you just really need mind control is all I have right now. Or I know that I will be in that bed, I will turn to mush, and I will lose my life, and I will lose this battle. And I'm not willing to do that at 38 years old. When I know that I have more life to live, I just need to live it in small increments versus how everybody else in the world's living right now, taking in and living on the edge. I just know that I can live, but I can't do it like everybody else. So, okay. Let me see. I was trying to see if anybody else. Okay, so someone did talk about dependence versus addiction, and also a good friend. I think the biggest issue that I have with this question, and this is why I want to write more articles on my blog, not only to raise awareness, but if you all know how Google works, the more articles that are written, the more when you Google keywords, the more articles you find. 90% of the articles that I find on addiction, or I should say dependency, are addiction. People are not separating the two. They are not the same thing. They are not the same thing by any means. Every time I look up benzos, Ativan, Valium, Klonopin, I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of them, but it is not just about people abusing these meds. We go on these medications not thinking they're nothing but a medication. Medications treat you. They are not harmful to your body getting off of them. These are not medicines. These are not prescriptions. These are pure evil, and they are drugs. They are drugs that your body, once you try to get off from, become dependent. You have no choice but to be on them, not because you're addicted, now because if you try to get off of them, you know that you could have a serious repercussions such as seizures, even death. You can die from getting off of alcohol and benzodiazepines. Those are the two more serious things out there. And I'm not trying to scare y'all, but I'm telling you the truth, that can actually kill you. You can have a seizure from both, okay? So, I don't have an addiction to this medicine. I went on this drug knowing that it would help me, help my anxiety from a surgery that I had that put me into surgical menopause, that was giving me chemical anxiety attacks. This medicine has destroyed my life and caused every symptom that I went on it for to be 1,000 quadrillion times worse. So with that being said, I am now dependent on it. I'm tapering down, but I have no choice to stay on this med. An addiction is somebody out there wanting to go on something to feel good because they're trying to numb the pain. They're trying to numb what they don't want to deal with, and they become addicted, okay? Us, we are not addicted. We have a dependency, and I'm so tired of people saying that we're abusing our drugs, we're not taking them as directed. I have never, ever abused a drug in my life, not even a street drug, okay? So for me, this is definitely a tolerance issue, and it's definitely a dependency, because this is how these pills were designed, were to get you dependent so you did not come off from them. That way, they can make $1 billion a year at your expense. So there is a total difference, and we need to get awareness out there. We need to stop pharmaceutical for allowing doctors to keep writing prescriptions, keep allowing the pharmacy can stop you from getting a prescription. They've done it to me before, to where they're like, oh, Melissa, you're a day ahead. You have to wait another day to fill your Ativan. So if that's the case, why are they not getting more involved that we should not, and looking at how long we've been on these meds, why are you still prescribing them? Why are you allowing this doctor to prescribe them? Because they can ultimately stop them. They are not willing to stop them, and they know the danger these drugs do, but yet they don't tell us that. They don't sit us down to say, if you take Ativan for longer than 2 to 4 weeks, you will become dependent and you could go through some serious symptoms. If they told me that, I would never have touched this drug starting in 2015. I would have done something totally different or gone with other options available to me than go on this drug. So that is, to me, sorry, but it's bogus. So people out there, these detox centers, change your wording, please. We are not addictions. We're not addicts. And again, I am not cutting down any person with an addiction. It's not easy. I can tell you that. I'm not an addict, and I know what your journey must be like. So I am not knocking anybody. Believe me, drugs are a sad thing all the way around. I don't care if they're street drugs or they're in your medicine cabinet. Drugs in this country are an epidemic, and they are taking people's lives left and right, when we just really, truly need to learn coping skills, to take care of our mental health, to go seek therapists who really care to hear what's going on with us and what we're suffering from, rather than pushing drugs and pushing a pill because it's easier than sitting down and listening to our problems and teaching us how to cope as adults, teens, and children in this world that is so wicked. Okay? So for me, people need to change that persona, that addiction and dependency are the same thing, because they are completely two different things. And I'm so tired of being thrown in that category. Again, I'm not downing anybody, but I did not go on these drugs to get a high. I did not go on them to change my chemistry, to stop me from caring, to make me numb. I did not know that's what benzodiazepines were. So that is a very, very good question. But yeah, like I said, I didn't really want to, make this video so huge, but honestly, if I've missed any questions you all have, I would love to answer them, in another Q&A. Like I said, my throat is just really dry. I'm not feeling well today. Again, don't let the exterior to some people think that we're doing just fine when we are not, but at the same time, I don't feel like I need to walk around and look like death all the time either. I mean, I want to try to regain and reclaim myself back. So, I'm trying to get up again and live in the moment as I can, as anybody going through benzodiazepines, withdrawal and intolerance. I don't want to overstimulate myself, but I don't want to live under a rock either, because I feel like that's not fair, and that's not fair to my children. So, like I said, I just wanted to do this Q&A. I might have missed, some things. And again, my brain is just, when it's going, and when it's not, it's not. So it's hard to get into this, filming, filming, mentality. And I love filming for people. I really do. I feel like if I could help somebody, or, they can school me, or I can learn from you. I'm forever grateful for this platform. Like I said, I just know that as I'm getting lower and lower in my taper, it's getting harder and harder to really get the energy up, fatigue, and air hunger to, film and whatnot. So like I said, I'm working on the video with my daughter. Hopefully that will be up next week. But if there's any questions y'all have, like I said, leave them down below. I would be happy to answer them. I try to read everybody's comments as well as I can. And again, thank you for those who subscribe. It means a lot to me. I feel like we're doing something good. We're a family. We're the Bullies Behind Benzo family. And I feel like the more that we talk and the more that I can make videos, even when I'm healed, I'm going to continue this platform. This platform is not just for intolerance, in withdrawal, in tapering. It's afterwards. It's what happens next. It's where do we go after benzos? Because all we've known is this illness and sickness. Who do we become after? I want to keep making videos and keep inspiring the good, the bad, the ugly, because to be real, we all need to know these things, not just the positive stuff. So again, don't watch the videos if you're in a trigger moment. Don't watch them. It's completely, I do it all the time. I'm still triggered by stuff. But in the days that I'm doing really, really well is when I focus on research and I focus on wanting to write my blog and really raising awareness. So either way,